Diaz making news this week, or at least some reports of Nate Diaz. I think Brett Okamoto, ESPN.com, had something to the fact that Nate Diaz could return August 4th, Los Angeles, California, UFC 227. It's exciting news when you hear about Nate or Nick trying to return. Of course, we haven't seen Nate Diaz since the second Conor McGregor fight all the way back then. Your thoughts on the news involving Nate Diaz and ultimately who you would like to see him share the octagon with if we are to believe that August 4th has any legs at all?
That's good news. Listen, I love watching Nate and Nick fight. I've been fans of theirs since the very beginning, and those are guys that you can rely on, again, and can rely on for a very long time to deliver an exciting fight. Those are finishers, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. They're always looking for the finish. Again, we have a superstar that we haven't seen in a long time. And for Nate Diaz, obviously he's been pursuing that fight against Conor McGregor. He's been pursuing those big fights, those super fights. There was talk about him and Tyron Woodley. I think that'd be interesting. I really do. I think that it'd be an interesting fight for Nate. Nate is looking for a big fight. I heard that maybe there was some talk about a fight against George St. Pierre. My understanding is that George probably wouldn't be interested in that fight. But I expect a big name in there against Nate Diaz. And the fact that they're able to get that going, or hopefully get that going, and we get a chance to see him in the octagon again, means that he's probably getting what he wants monetarily, to compete inside the octagon. Obviously, we know he's going to get a huge payday if he fights a Conor McGregor. Would he get a huge payday if he fought anybody else? Well, it looks like we have that answer. He's probably going to get paid, and get paid very well, whoever it may be. And I guess if I had to pick someone right now, maybe it's a Tyron Woodley.
And it's crazy to think that Nate Diaz could be competing for the UFC welterweight championship here in a few short months, but Tyron Woodley has had that name on the tip of his tongue for a long time, and perhaps that ultimately does materialize. We've spent a lot of time on this show talking about Nate Diaz as a pay-per-view draw and maybe what we know or don't know about what the internal metrics say about Nate Diaz's ability to move a number and help push that Dillashaw Garbrandt pay-per-view. I don't know. But I just know that when these guys make any sort of headline, it feels like it is major, major news, at least with me as a fight fan. I feel like it's going to come out of the Dustin Poirier, Eddie Alvarez, Kevin Lee troika of UFC lightweight contenders. The one thing that Nate Diaz, Kenny, has over most of these guys at 155 pounds is the fact that everybody in the top 15 is dying to fight him, whether it's because he has a big name or because they think it is a stylistically favorable matchup. So I think the Kevin Lee-Nate Diaz fight has a ton of legs, and, man, the promotion would be absolutely insane. I think the Eddie Alvarez fight deserves some strong consideration, and there are reports that Dustin Poirier would accept the Nate Diaz fight. It would be one of the few fights maybe that he would fight that wouldn't be a championship